Now listen, normally I'm an advocate for speculating responsibly. However, with a potential February Direct right around the corner, I would be lying if I said I'm not a little on my toes, really excited for this Nintendo Direct, wanting to talk about and dive into any little piece of potential information we have regarding what will be announced in it. And something popped up yesterday that, I didn't put much stock into it, but then something else happened today that really makes me think like, this could actually mean something. So today we're going to be talking about an amiibo restock and what it might mean for a potential shadow drop in the February Nintendo Direct. Before we get into that though, of course, if you are not subscribed and you enjoy Nintendo Switch news, speculation, videos like this almost each and every day, I really would appreciate you subscribing. Let's get into it. Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games, and today we're going to be speculating about the potential shadow drop in the February Nintendo Direct. Now, it is not a foregone conclusion that we will get a February Nintendo Direct, but based on Nintendo precedents, we're probably getting a Nintendo Direct in like 2 weeks. My money is on February 7th, but maybe it'll be on the 14th, which is Valentine's Day. Maybe it'll even be on the 21st, although they normally do them in the first half of the month. Regardless, we are almost certainly getting a Nintendo Direct in February. And with this Nintendo Direct will of course come new game announcements, maybe even some more ports from past consoles, and that's what I want to talk about today. So something interesting popped up yesterday on GameStop's website. They're actually restocking the Guardian amiibo, the Breath of the Wild Guardian amiibo. That by itself, I wouldn't really, think much of. I think it's like, okay, well, they restock amiibo all the time. That's not a huge deal, right? But the Guardian amiibo, first of all, very excited about that. I pre-ordered that thing instantly because I had it when I was younger, but I sold it a couple years ago. So very happy they're restocking that. But just this morning, like, an hour ago when I'm recording this, they actually put up 2 more Zelda amiibo for the same date, March 8th. So on March 8th, not only is the Breath of the Wild Guardian amiibo being restocked, so is the Sheik Smash Bros amiibo, as well as the Wolf Link amiibo from Twilight Princess HD. And I will say, before we get any further into this could completely mean nothing. Sometimes Nintendo just restocks amiibos on random days, and that's just it. However, they do have a history of restocking amiibo alongside some sort of new game release. In fact, we're actually seeing this in just 2 weeks with Mario vs. Donkey Kong, where on that same day, 3 Super Smash Bros. Amiibo are getting restocked. They're restocking Terry, they're restocking Joker, and they're restocking Banjo and Kazooie. Amiibo that have nothing to do with Mario vs. Donkey Kong, but regardless, Nintendo is restocking them the same day as that new game release. They like to have that kind of synergy with their products. Another example of this, not with Amiibo, but with an accessory, is the new pink Joy-Con that they announced last week. Those are coming out on the same day as Princess Peach Showtime. If they have a new accessory or hardware or something, they usually kind of tie it in with the new game releasing that month, even if it is a restock of an old thing, like these amiibo. So I look at these 3 Zelda amiibo being restocked, and, well, that's nice. I'm glad I can finally get Guardian and then Sheik, which I also had when I was younger but sold. So that's nice to be able to get those again. But it's the date March 8th specifically that I think is very interesting and might be telling in terms of what we can expect in this February Nintendo Direct. Now, for the past 3 Nintendo Directs, Nintendo has shadow dropped something. It started last year in February when they shadow dropped Metroid Prime Remastered on February 8th, and then a couple weeks later, on February 22nd, they actually released a physical version of that game. Then in June, we saw Pikmin 1 and 2 get shadow dropped during that Nintendo Direct, and then that got a physical release just a couple months later in September. And then in the September Direct, we actually saw F-Zero 99 shadow dropped. Not quite to the scale of Metroid Prime Remastered or Pikmin 1 and 2, but still a first-party shadow drop from Nintendo. I'm planning my predictions video now for next week when we inevitably get this Nintendo Direct announced, and I already have a shadow drop listed. Like, I am fully expecting a new game from Nintendo to be shadow dropped during this next Nintendo Direct. And with the way Nintendo has been doing these, where they shadow drop it digitally that day of the Nintendo Direct, which is normally a Wednesday, and then a couple of weeks later they release a physical version, March 8th is queued up perfectly to be the release date for whatever this potential shadow drop could be. If you look at the release dates of every Nintendo game that we currently have, we only have up through Princess Peach Showtime. On February 16th, you have Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Then a week later, you have the Splatoon 2 Side Order DLC. Then from there, 2 weeks after the Splatoon 3 Side Order DLC releases is March 8th, which is when this potential shadow drop game would release. And then 2 weeks after that is Princess Peach Showtime. That is such specific timing in between this amiibo restock and these new games and DLCs releasing that, listen, once again, it could be a coincidence, but I really do think that there's a good chance that whatever gets shadow dropped this time around ends up getting its physical version on March 8th. Now, the big question is, what will that game actually be? I've been predicting Metroid Prime 2 and 3. I think a lot of us have been predicting that. And I would love to see that, and I would still lean towards that being the game, quite frankly, because I just feel like that makes more sense right now if they're going to start marketing Metroid Prime 4 in the near future. However, with these 3 Zelda amiibo specifically being restocked on that day, with potentially more to come, I'm recording this very hot off the press of Sheik and the Wolf Link amiibo going up. There could be more that happen later in the day. With it being these 3 specific Zelda amiibo, none of these 3 really have anything in common. However, I have to imagine this could mean that Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are finally happening. Maybe it's not both of them. Maybe it's just Wind Waker. Maybe it's just Twilight Princess. I mean, Wolf Link actually goes with that game, so maybe that would make a little bit more sense. But you're restocking these 3 Zelda amiibo on this random day in March that is perfectly timed in between the release of your Splatoon DLC and your new Princess Peach Showtime game. That feels really strange. I know a lot of us just went through this back in November. There was November 10th, a ton of amiibo got restocked, and people thought for sure that the Switch 2 was going to be announced that week, or at least something Zelda related, because I think there was a lot of Zelda amiibo and other Smash Bros. Amiibo. The difference there is we had already known that November 3rd and November, I think 17th it would have been, those already had games. But right now, the first half of March is completely open. So I really do think it's possible that these amiibo are releasing alongside a potential Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, which it kind of sounds weird to even predict this. I've been off this train for quite some time. In fact, I was even going as far as to say I don't think Twilight Princess would ever come over. I think if we're talking about Ocarina of Time remake, you have to imagine Majora's Mask would follow. I think Twilight Princess is, even though it's not my favorite 3D Zelda, I think it's as deserving of a full remake eventually as Ocarina and Majora's Mask. This is, of course, would be like 10 years down the line, but Wind Waker I was more confident in. Personally, I think Wind Waker, that you don't need a remake Wind Waker. Wind Waker is a timeless game that doesn't really need touched at this point, in my opinion. But maybe they just say screw it and release both of these to spruce up the Switch's catalog in 2024. It is more ports, it is more remasters, but I don't think most people would really care. We've been begging for these Zelda ports for years now. I mean, literally since 2018. I mean, people have been talking about the Zelda remasters from Wii U, as well as the Metroid Prime trilogy, the entire lifespan of the Nintendo Switch. So to see that we might actually finally be getting at least one of them is very exciting to me. Now, once again, I just want to really hammer it in. This doesn't necessarily mean anything. However, I really do think that March 8th is such a specific suspect date to do this in between the Splatoon DLC and Princess Peach Showtime. So, I mean, time will tell. Like I said, I think we're getting this direct in probably about a week from now, maybe 8 days. And with the way Puro works, we'll probably be getting some Puro leaks actually maybe in 2 days from now. I think with the September Direct, he started leaking it about a week in advance. Maybe it was for the June Direct. I'm not remembering exactly, but it's definitely close to a week in advance that Puro starts leaking. And, maybe he won't leak this Direct, but considering he's leaked the past 2, I'd be willing to bet that he probably will start leaking this Nintendo Direct almost a week in advance. So, unfortunately, if you don't like Nintendo Direct spoilers, that's a bad thing. But also, as someone who's very involved in the Nintendo hype culture, I definitely, I would be lying if I said it's not exciting to wake up and go on Twitter and see a new Puro tweet that's hinting at something that's completely unexpected. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you buy into this theory that we might actually be getting Wind Waker and Twilight Princess shadow dropped on the Nintendo Direct in February? So I'm predicting February 7th for that, with a physical release coming out on March 8th. Let me know your thoughts on that theory down in the comments below. Would you like to see these games over Metroid Prime, or would you prefer, Metroid Prime instead? Let me know your thoughts in depth in the comments below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, coverage, all of that fun stuff, speculation, of course, and follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames. Until next time, folks, peace!